That's a lot of fish. Greetings and salutations, YouTubers. This is ZillaFan85, and I, of course, represent YouTube's bargain basement of the airwaves. I'm back today with my latest video, and my latest figure review, of course. Today, we're going to go ahead and take a look at my Y-MSF Zilla figure. So either Zilla or Godzilla 1998. I do kind of crisscross the two. I believe Y-MSF actually markets this as Zilla as opposed to Godzilla 1998. But like I said, they're essentially one and the same. I know that people do kind of debate over that. But, you know, essentially once Toho, you know, obviously took the rights from the TriStar Godzilla and then they rebranded it as Zilla when they used it for Final Wars. So it's kind of interchangeable. This particular, because there's different paint schemes that Y-MSF has done. They've re-released this figure a few times. This particular one, I believe this was the second generation that came out. The other one had more brown and whatnot on it, and definitely did, as far as the paint scheme and whatnot goes, did sort of represent Zilla more than Godzilla 1998. This one, to me, is more of the 1998 Godzilla paint scheme, just because of the darkened paint and what have you, especially the way that you see him lit throughout a good portion of the film that he's shown in. This is, to me, is what it kind of depicts, honestly. So, you know, just kind of some things to note. And it's also what I think of, like, too, with the Trendmasters 1998 Godzilla figures. A lot of them done in a similar sort of paint scheme as this as well. So anyways, like I said, just kind of going through some of that. Obviously, I know the 1998 Godzilla film itself is certainly controversial, to say the least, as far as everything depicted about it, and, you know, mainly so with Godzilla. I mean, as a film, I don't really mind it. Does it work as a Godzilla film? Nah, that's where I kind of don't really feel that. So that's why it's always been at basically the bottom of the list for me. But I don't hate it as a film itself. It's actually kind of entertaining. So I will actually say that. So I actually don't mind it. But anyways, though, I mean, it's, you know, doesn't, to me, not a great Godzilla design, but as a design for a kaiju, though, this is pretty cool looking. So let's go ahead and let's jump into this sucker here. So we're going to start with the paint and the detail work. So again, going over this sort of main paint scheme for the body, it's like a brownish gray almost. As you guys can see here, we'll bring it in closer to the face. You've got these nice, like, beady red eyes that he's got on each side. Not really film accurate, because the eyes were like more like a brown and black, like brown for the eyeballs and then like black pupils, I believe. But still, the red, though, is a pretty cool look, though, so I do appreciate that. Then, of course, you've got, like, I would say, like, an off-white, like a creamish or off-white bone color for the teeth, as you guys can see, and they're sculpted pretty well here, so you guys can see that. And then, of course, you got the inside of the mouth. You've got, like, this sort of doled out sort of peach color, like a white or peach color on the roof of the mouth there, if the camera will pick that up. Doing the best I can for you. And then it goes into more of like a pink or peach color, like a sort of blending of the two when you get more for the back part of the mouth, and then for the tongue, which is sculpted pretty nicely as well. You've got some nice detail work for that. So that looks pretty cool. And of course, he's got like these nice sort of horns and spikes on the side of his of the top part of his head here, and some nice scales, and these sort of osteoderms or what have you on the sides of his face there, on both sides, as you guys can see. Looks really cool. Some nice line segments, almost like a nice scaly pattern, like an iguana type pattern, I think I've heard it called. on the sides of the neck there, as you guys can see, and that sort of blends in with that brownish gray color, and then going into more of like a silverish metallic blue, which you guys can see is on the front part of the neck here. Again, this nice frill that he's got, which goes from the back part of the bottom of the mouth, and it goes down into the chest, abdomen area, that cool looking little frill. So it definitely some nice attention to detail there. Got the sort of muscular chest that he's got, and of course the muscular, definitely a bit of a ripped kaiju here, and that's some musculature design for the abdomen area there. Again, all done in that silverish metallic blue. Kind of the best way I can describe it. You got more of that silverish metallic blue on the bottom side of the arms that go into the hands here. Again, more of the grooves and the scales that he's got along the arms, and then going into the hands, which are sculpted very well. And he does have 5 fingers for each hand, which is more signature of the 1998 Godzilla than Zilla, I believe. Because I believe Zilla had 4 fingers, not 5, but here on these hands you've got 5 fingers. So but I could be wrong on that, so do correct me if I am wrong. And then you've got these nice black finger claws on both hands, and they are actually pretty sharp to the touch, so you can definitely feel those. Be careful with that. You don't want to get hurt or be a little too hot-handed with them and risk breaking them. So, but really nice and sharp to the touch, though, the claws. I appreciate that. And on the top part of the arms, it's more of that brownish gray color. And again, you got this nice horn here on the top part of the arm where it kind of joins into the shoulder, and then again more of that scaly pattern that goes along the arm. Same thing for both sides, as you guys can see there. Really cool looking. Again, some more osteoderms and scales as you go down the body here, and then into the legs. You got all the scaly pattern going along the legs and all the musculature. Again, you got the brownish gray on this part of the leg, and on the inside part of the leg, like the thighs and whatnot, is more of that silverish metallic blue. Again, kind of the best way I can describe it. And you can even, if you can sort of depict, you even have some, looks like a bit of greenish highlights as well throughout, like on the chest area, and as you go down, you can even see that, just to kind of make it pop a little bit more. I think Y-MSF really did a nice job. I've always been a proponent for theirs. I really love their figures. Honestly, really cool looking. Anyways, again, going down the legs here, again onto the feet here. Nice, almost bird-like patterning, like those bird-like scales as you go down into the feet there. And again, nice sharp black toe claws here, just like the finger claws. Again, very sharp to the touch there. Paint on both sides here. And again, you got the black for like the dew claws as well. Very cool looking. The bottom part of the feet, pretty plain Jane, but you got your trademark information. You got your trademark Toho Company Limited right there, if you guys can pick that up. And then on this side, you got the Y-MSF LLC trademark information there. So again, hopefully you guys are picking that up. Very cool nonetheless. And then you head down into the tail. Again, on the top part of the tail, you got that brownish gray, and then the bottom part, you got the silverish metallic blue. And it's a nice blending of the two, and you got nice wrinkles and grooves and scales that go all along the tail here. Really nice attention to detail. Very cool looking, folks. And of course, as we look on the back here, you've got the these sort of rivets here from the top part of the face, and then they sort of blend into the dorsal spines as you carry down the neck, and of course along the back and into the tail. The dorsal spine's done in more of that silverish metallic blue color. Mine's got a little bit of paint wear on it, just kind of is what it is, but doesn't really bother me too much there. Just to kind of showcase for you guys, and a lot of detail work though done for all the dorsal spines. So very, very cool looking nonetheless. I really, really like it, and even captured detail on more of these spiky spines in between there. You got that signature Godzilla 1998 and Zilla patterning for the spines as well, with that sort of curvature and then a little bit of extra, especially on the larger spines, with a little bit of extra spikiness there. So very, very cool. Carries down all the way through the tail. Again, you got that silverish metallic blue paint scheme going all the way down there. You guys can see, and you got all the line segments done for the tail as well, so I should point that out. But very, very cool. Nice attention to detail work all around. So a very, very sharp looking figure in my opinion, folks. Now that pretty much covers it for the paint and the detail work. Just kind of wanted to go over that pretty thoroughly if I could. Let's go ahead and jump into the articulation here though. Basic articulation. There's nothing at the head or neck area. You do have rotation. They're on these swivel joints, which is, standard fare for vinyl figures. So you can rotate at both arms and they'll pretty much go all the way around. It's a little bit tight, but you can swivel them here, both arms, 360 rotation for both, and then of course you've got the rotation for the legs. These can rotate all the way around, as you guys can see. So both legs there. And then the tail, I believe. Now, I bought this at a convention, but I believe when you get this, like, direct from Y-MSF or whatever, you get it, it comes, shipped in a box, and you get a bag, and then the main figure itself is separate from the tail, and you have to actually plug it in. But nonetheless, though, you do get rotation from the tail, so you guys can see, and it spins fairly freely, and you can, of course, spin it all the way around. So again, your basic standard fare, 5 points of articulation, but again, that's kind of par for the course with these vinyl type figures. So very, very cool though, nonetheless. Now, as far as sizing goes, let's go ahead and start with the ruler here. And see how he measures up. And I'll bring the camera in just a little bit for you guys so you can see Zilla here right at the top part of the head, the highest part is right about that 6-inch range. So pretty much standard fare for your 6 to 7 inch scale. So you can see that. And as a size comparison, now since this is technically supposed to be Zilla, I will go ahead and size him up against his opponent, of course, the true Godzilla, the Final Wars Godzilla here. And this is, of course, the SH Monster Arts Final Wars Godzilla, which I've previously reviewed on my channel. So you guys can see how they size up together. Trying to... got long tails, so just trying to size them in, but nonetheless, very, very cool though, folks. Actually, I mean, he's a little on the larger size. I know he should be at least a little smaller than Godzilla, but still a cool pairing, and to me, they would look pretty good together on a shelf, especially if you have like Monster X and maybe even, the Final Wars Gigan, what have you. So really, really a cool setup though, for sure. So I like it. So you guys can see that there. And I'll bring him off to the side here. So as far as pricing goes for this guy, now again, it is Y-MSF. Y-MSF is a small company. I believe it's kind of an OMA here, one-man army doing most of the work. You can contact him. I believe they have an Instagram page and whatnot, and a Facebook page and all that. So if you want to order from them direct, but it depends on what they have in stock. So for this has already been out a couple years. So you're going to really be looking at the aftermarket here. So unless they relist them, probably going to say like places like eBay and whatnot, but it's hit or miss if you'll actually find this guy. And you're going to be looking at, over $100 for this figure for sure. Which, I mean, I guess, as long as you're willing to pay to play, it is a really nice figure. But I would just start being mindful if they're asking too much, especially if you're looking at like a couple $100 and up. I wouldn't, personally, I would not pay that much for this. But, it just depends on what you guys are willing to do and if you're willing to pay to play. But certainly, if you can get them for around that $100 mark, definitely a good pickup for that, I would say. So, other than that, though, folks, I pretty much think that about wraps it up for this video. I would like to thank you guys so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe, please feel free to do so. If you would like to like and or comment on any of my videos, please feel free to do so as well. And just remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you be good to yourselves, and sayonara.